Welcome back to ReadingBear. Today, we will take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first story is titled, Some Bull Crap at the Craft Store. So, I used to work for a very well-known craft store that also sold a lot of fabrics. I was so excited to get hired on at this store because I absolutely loved shopping here. My love for this store quickly went to crap. We were forced to wear these huge, neon green aprons that we weren't allowed to take home and wash. I'm a small woman, about 5'3". My apron came down to my ankles, and my managers refused to order me a smaller size. Well, along with my apron dress, I was also scheduled 4 to 8 hours a week. I basically got paid enough to afford the gas to drive to work. I also had a manager who hated me for no apparent reason. I'd ask for a quick restroom break and get threatened with a write-up. Show up early for work, get accused of trying to rip off the company for extra money. Just blatant harassment. It's worth noting that I worked here for 4 months, and none of the managers, including the GM, remembered my name. The breaking part for me was when I got my new schedule for the week, and my GM had me down to work 12 to 14-hour shifts every day that week. I told my GM about my college class hours, and she told me to just skip because they needed me more since she was going on vacation to Mexico. Ha! No, idiot. You can't remember my name and now you're going to work me to death because you want to dip out suddenly? Nope. I didn't show up for work that first 14-hour shift for the week, and nobody noticed. Fast forward to the end of the week, no calls from anyone. Okay lol, peace out. Now for the good part. I hadn't worked there for about 3 months when I get a random phone call. I answer and I'm instantly getting screamed at by some super pissed off lady. I deleted the store number, so I didn't realize it was my old GM calling me. GM, where are you? You were scheduled to be here at 11 AM and it's 2 PM. Get here, now. Me, who the hell is this? GM, how dare you? Have you forgotten who you're speaking to? Me, yes actually. GM, I'm writing you up as soon as you get here. You better get here ASAP. Crazy idiot hangs up and I'm sitting there like, did she just now realize I haven't been showing up for work? There's no way, right? Well, I decided to be an ass and I showed up to the store. Walked right up to my old boss, hoping she'd just lay into me so I could get her fired for yelling at a customer. Nope. She didn't even realize who I was. I ended up buying some mermaid scale print fabric and giving the store a super crappy survey and using the GM's name personally. Blocked the store number as well lol. The next story is titled, Lady Tried to Force Me to Ring Her Up at a Game Store. This was probably a month before the whole lockdown. I was buying Fire Emblem 3 Houses, amazing game by the way. My casual wear includes my school ID card on an anime lanyard. I can kind of see how this lady messed me up as an employee, but still. While reading the back of the game I hear a very entitled, "Excuse me," from behind me. I turn around and look at a lady a bit taller than me. I'm fairly short to begin with. I think she was trying to look at the games I was standing in front of, as it is a very small store, so I just stepped out of the way and apologize. Excuse me. I've been waiting for 10 minutes. She yells. I didn't think I was reading for that long but apologize again and keep reading the case. It's weird but I like to. This apparently set her off. No. Go do your job and ring up my son's game. At this point I realized she thought I worked there. Oh, I don't work here. She didn't think I was telling the truth and yelled. Of course, you do. You're wearing an ID card. Ma'am, this is my school ID, I'm in high school. I'm too young to work in this establishment. I think after I said that she took a good look at my card and it clicked for her. I'll admit it was ridiculous that no one was working the counter. The next story is titled, Thank You Mr. Kilt. Used to work and own an annual event several years ago, and we had just finished up for the year and I was finally on the long drive home where a bed and several fuzzy blankets were waiting for me. After almost 5 days of herding cats, volunteers and putting up with the headaches that go with the insanity. I was happy but drained, as well as slightly thirsty and wanting a small boost of energy. So I pull into a gas station to grab some drinks and snacks for the trip ahead. As I am walking in, I see a car parked outside with an Indiana license plate. Story takes place in VA, but I have family from in, so it was an interesting side note. So the first thing I hear as I walk into the store is a Karen loudly asking where the PO dispenser is. I still don't know how she got 4 syllables out of the 3 letters that make up the word pop. At this point, let's introduce you to our cast. Karen, K, dressed as only a Karen can be. I think it was her first time leaving the Midwest. Store employee, SE, look of panic and bewilderment on his face. Dressed in a red polo with the company logo stitched on in black and black pants. Me, exhausted, slowly rebuilding the threads of sanity and decency (SDL) that I had lost over the weekend, running on about 20% and slowly climbing. I'm wearing my usual clothing when I'm dealing with my event. So I'm wearing an employee blue polo with my event's name in red, as well as my lanyard from the event and a brown Survivor utility kilt. Hi to all who know me. As a note, I have 2 different badges attached to my lanyard. One was our event's generic staff badge, and the other was a badge identifying me as the owner of said event. I keep both to not draw too much attention to myself, and people react differently to a generic staffer than an owner. Anyways, back to the story at hand. So after listening to Kay's mangled attempt at the English language, I walk over to where they are talking. SE, ma'am, I don't know what you're asking for. Starting to look more panicked and terrified. Kay, I want to know where the pop dispenser is. The veins in her forehead are starting to show. Me, sorry to interrupt, I know that this store's layout isn't the best, but you can find the soda machine around the corner just past the restrooms. As I point in the general direction. K, finally someone who speaks English. And stomps off. Me to SE, chuckling, never encountered someone from the Midwest. I see, pop is their generic term for Coke. He looks relieved and scurries back to the register to assist some people waiting in line. I feel a bit better and continue on my shopping, SDL 25%. Now in a happy world this would be the end of it. But we all know different. I'm now looking through the drink coolers and trying to decide what I want to keep me hydrated on the ride home. I had 2 bottles in my hand and saw another option which looked much better, so I decided to put the ones in my hand back. When Kay comes marching up to me with the storm clouds of a Category K trailing in her wake. Kay, there is no upper 10 in the dispenser, and I don't see it anywhere. What kind of a store is this anyways? And where is the cherry mash? That lazy boy up there didn't know what I was talking about. Me, looking at her in disbelief, I'm sorry, what? Kay, that lazy sob just told me that he didn't know what cherry mash was. He must be some kind of an idiot. Now tell me where the cherry mash is. Me, SDL 15% and dropping, I utter the magic words to Kay, ma'am, I don't work here. Kay, looking like she's about to turn into the Hulk, then why in Jesus' name did you help that lazy sob earlier? Why are you putting drinks back into the cooler? SDL 5% and plummeting. Kay, she now takes her finger and starts jabbing my badge hanging from my chest. I see that your staff here. She was using a very mocking tone for the word staff. I'm the customer, you need to treat me right. At this point my SDL skipped right past 0 at lubricious speeds and I now lost it. I'm a large, 6'1", 300+ pounds person. For those who've met me know I try and be kind and easygoing in my day-to-day life, and I don't like to throw my weight around or to intimidate anyone without cause. Karen has just succeeded in something that few have been able to do in the past, which is to get me to the point where I'm annoyed. Me, I flip my badge over so that it shows owner and straightening up and projecting myself at my full size and in a voice which can get several hundred people to stop and listen. Madam, I'm an owner. You have caused enough of a headache to everyone in this store. Please apologize to them and leave. And like a 6-year-old who knows they've been busted by the school principal and is awaiting their mother to come pick them up. She mutters a quick and meek sorry and bolts out of the store. I take a deep breath and deflate, grab my drinks and head up to the counter. The poor store employee is looking at me like a deer in the headlights. He rings me up and I pay and get ready to walk out of the store. As I get ready to leave. SE, stammering, have a good day. Me, thanks you too, and cheer up. It only gets worse. Epilogue. A few months later I'm traveling to a meeting for my event. I stop off at this same store to pick up some drinks. I'm in my kilt, but this time I have one of my t-shirts from my event on. Store manager, holy bleep, it's Mr. Kilt. Me, really? Where? I want to get his autograph. SM then proceeds to tell me what happened after I left. It seems that it was only the second day that SE was entrusted with manning the store without someone else being there and was already nervous about it. Our adventure happened with less than an hour to go on his shift. It also turns out that the SM had walked in behind me and watched the whole thing. Shortly after I left, he went to the back and made sure that he had the security footage saved, as he wanted to watch and laugh about it later. Next thing, he sees that there are now 2 squad cars sitting in his parking lot. And there are now 2 police officers talking to SE with Karen standing off to one side. SM, is there a problem? 01, yes, Karen here claims that she was assaulted by your employee and the owner of the company. SM, officer, I'm not sure how that is possible, because the owner is at corporate up in PA. K, don't lie, he showed me his badge and it said owner on it. SM, holding the name tag he was wearing, ma'am, did it look something like this? K, well, not exactly. SM, trying to not laugh at this point. If you would like to follow me, I'll be happy to show you the security footage. K, watching the footage of when I walked into the store, there, that's him. That's the person who said he was the owner. 01, I highly doubt that he is the owner of this store. 02, I agree. K, what makes you so sure? 02, first off, he's walking in through the front of the store. Most employees will come in the back. Secondly, if you look at the logo on his shirt, it's for an event that happened last weekend. And finally, ma'am, he's wearing a kilt. At this point 01 and SM start chortling. K turns to 02, a what? 01, a kilt. It's a traditional Scottish garment. They get to the point where she was poking me in the chest and my reaction. 01, ma'am, as you can see on the tape, there was no assault on either SE or Mr. Kilt's part, and filing a false report is a crime. 01 to SM, from what we've seen, K has assaulted Mr. Kilt, would you like to press charges on his behalf? K then proceeds to spin a web of BS. SM really doesn't want the hassle and the officers let her go with a warning. Once they leave and SE's replacement has arrived, SM calls him back into his office and discusses the events. SE was relieved to know that he did nothing wrong. And that he wasn't going to get fired over the event. He was then able to handle the job with ease and joked with his boss about having a Mr. Kilt day. The next story is titled, That's Not My Dad. I don't know if this fits here because I was working, but I was mistook from other person. I'm not a native English speaker, but I can understand it very well. Sometimes I can speak without any accent if I'm not thinking too much. I'm also 6.1 feet tall, taller than the average man on my country, long hair and light skin, not the same as a Caucasian. This is relevant by the end. I decided to get a second job the summer vacations of this events and save some extra money. I found a 2 weeks job. I just needed to take note, answer phone calls, carry some papers and do some minor labors. The only requirement for the job was being able to speak English and basic computer knowledge. This was the office of an import and export business. Sometimes the clients came here to speak directly or they send someone. I suspect this was because the office was very close to the tourist district. That's why they had a formal dress code. On the Monday of my second week, they told me that a client and his son were on their way to the office to speak with the boss, unfortunately also a co-worker they describe as a Karen Hell spawn from the entitled circle of the underworld, also came back from her vacations. I got a message to print some papers and give them to the client. He was a nice middle-aged man who couldn't speak a bit of Spanish, so he asked me to stay a little until his son came back because he knew how to speak Spanish. I finally used some dad puns who doesn't have sense in Spanish, and then we noticed the woman on the room. She was on her 30s and his face was all fake smiles and makeup. She presented herself in a bad English to me and the client. She tried to small talk but her English was terrible, so I translated. After a couple of minutes the client's son arrived. He was on a bit more casual attire, tanned, as tall as me, with loose hair long to the shoulders and carrying some papers. Karen turned to him and said on an angry tone in Spanish, "You're finally here, you useless child." The client's son just said pardon, on a clearly confused and angry tone, but Karen keep her rant on this guy. Seriously, I don't know how they can hire someone so incompetent to do such a simple work. Give me those papers and go away from here before the boss call for us. Don't you dare to look at me like this. I know you are just a temporal worker, but if you make me angry I can still make you miserable. The client's son's mouth was a little open, but when she turned again to us an apology for the useless temporal employee with a fake smile, his face changed from offended to evil smile. I realized what was happening. The client's son and me were about the same age, both tall and long hair. Mine is way longer, but I had it on a bun. I was more formal, close to the client. She caught us chatting, and since his son was tanned, my skin tone was more alike the client's. The client was confused, but I introduced myself to his son in Spanish and he did the same. Even with all her makeup, Karen's face turned wider than the wall and her eyes were so open I thought they were gonna pop out. The client asked, "What is happening?" but his son replied, "I explain you later." I went back to do my stuff, and a couple of hours later I saw the client and his son heading his way out of the building. His son saw me, he waved and told me, "You should have seen his face." We both laughed. Karen indeed tried to pick on me, but she didn't had enough power to anything relevant. I wasn't hired to do the extra work she tried to make me do, and I didn't care enough to fall on the childish bullying that was her last resort. I know it is a bit long, but it was very funny. The next story is titled, Short and Sweet. I went into Home Depot looking for a screw to finish a ceiling fan install. I am wearing blue jeans and a black button-down shirt. I enter an aisle and see 4 people. An orange apron employee is helping one guy. A man and woman couple are nearby looking for something. In moments, the one guy follows the employee past me and out of the aisle. I make eye contact with the lady. She immediately engages. "We are looking for this," as she presents some metal bits in her hand that could have been door handles. I paused and smiled under my mask. I held up the screw in my hand and replied, "I'm looking for this." To which she paused, "Oh, you don't work here, I'm sorry." I just smiled and said, "All good," as I walked on past. The next story is titled, I Don't Work Here, That's My Sister. Background, so, I have a sister. She is 2 years younger, but we look very similar. It's moderately easy to tell is apart though, if you know us well and spend time with us. She works part-time in Walmart and is 21. I am 23 and work as an assistant manager for a restaurant in town. So, I was in Walmart getting a couple of things my sister wanted. She was sick, and due to us being fairly close, I was helping her out and planned on making her dinner. I was just looking for the chocolate she likes when one of the employees came up to me. His name is Tom and I knew him fairly well as I came there every so often. He was friends with my sister, so she introduced us. We had a chat for a while, and he asked how Katie, my sister, was. After that he went and continued working and I kept shopping. I had just decided to put something back when I heard a, "Hey you." I looked up to see an old man looking at me. "Yes?" I asked. The man just looked annoyed and snapped, "Come here." I was just about to tell him to duck of demanding me to do something like that when I saw an old lady stood slightly behind him. She told him not to be so rude and apologized to me. The lady was smiling as she asked me if I could reach the ketchup for her. I decided because she had asked nicely, I would help her out, so I came over and got her a bottle. When I handed it to her, she asked if there was a bigger bottle. I told her that there wasn't, and I was sorry. As I turn around to leave, the old man goes, "Well then go out to the back and get her a bigger bottle, you idiot. Don't just walk away." It clicked then that the guy thought I worked at the Walmart. "Sorry, I can't do that as I don't work here. If you really need that bigger bottle then ask one of the employees," I answered, slightly amused by him. The lady looked like she was going to say something when the old man, cut in, "Don't be stupid. You do work here. I see you here all the time, you're just being lazy." Me, "Sir, you must have mistaken me for my sister, she is the one that worked here, not me. I really can't help you." Liar. You're a liar. My wife wants ketchup. Get her the ketchup. I saw you talking to that boy. You're always talking to that boy. You do work here, you're just being lazy. At this point he is shouting and his poor wife, who has done nothing wrong, looked like she wants to hide. Me, "Sir, for the last time, I don't work here, and I am going to politely ask you to duck off." Finally, someone comes, but it turns out to be Tom. "Tom, is something wrong, sir?" This lazy piece of crap is refusing to get my wife some ketchup and is denying working here. Right now, the old bastard is looking pretty smug, like I'm going to be in serious trouble. "Tom, sir, she doesn't work here. You must have mistaken her for her sister Katie. I can get the ketchup for you though." Liar. She does work here, you're lying. I saw you two laughing and talking. You're just covering for her because you're both lazy liars. I'm telling your manager. Then he just huffs off, leaving his wife to apologies. A couple of minutes later he comes back with the manager and is going on about how I'm so lazy and rude and refusing to help a customer and blah blah blah. The manager is just looking at him and nodding along with a smile on his face until Om has finished his rant. Manager, I can see how this would be a problem if she were an employee, but sir, she doesn't work here. Tom, please get the man some ketchup, then takes them to the checkout. Finally, he turned to me and apologies for the trouble and asks how my sister is. When I get home, I make food and tell my sister, who finds the whole thing hilarious. She said she had encountered him before. The next story is titled, I work for Target, not Walmart. Several years ago, now, I worked at a Target superstore as a cashier, food court worker. They didn't have check cashing, and I didn't have a working bank account, so on Fridays I would cash my check at customer service of the Walmart Neighborhood Market, Walmart grocery store, for those unfamiliar, across the street before going home. At the time, Neighborhood Market employees wore green shirts and khakis. This was before they changed to bright green vests. I was wearing my Target red and khakis, and on this day, I had forgotten to remove my Target name tag, though I usually did. This is also before any Targets in my area got self-checkouts. It was busy, and the customer service managers were running around helping cashiers, other customers, etc., so I was waiting at the desk alone. This NHM had the self-checkouts directly across from the service desk. There was a lady there getting increasingly frustrated. So, she starts shouting over at me. Lady, hey, can you help me with this? Me looks down at shirt and name tag, looks at lady like she's stupid. No, I don't work here, sorry. Lady, well then why are you standing there? Me, waiting for service? At the service desk? Sorry, I don't work here. Lady, well then where are the people who work here? Can't you help me? Me, I don't know, I work in the food court at Target. Quote. She keeps acting all aggravated and kicking up a fuss, so I kind of go near her and tell her how to look up produce, never touching the machine. I go back to the desk to wait. A few minutes go by, and I guess her receipt got jammed. Lady, hey, can you come fix this? I'm not getting a receipt. Me, I still don't work here, I work for Target. Lady, well you helped me before. Me, because you needed help and I knew how to do it. I really don't feel comfortable touching their machines when I'm not using it. She continues to kick up a fuss and act frustrated, mad for the next couple minutes, occasionally looking at me and sighing loudly. Finally, a customer service manager who looked about 18 years old shows up. He goes to help me behind the counter, but I point out the lady first, who somehow hasn't noticed him. He goes over to help, but the receipt paper is jammed, and he clearly doesn't know how to fix it. He says he's just covering a break and will have to find someone to help. I sigh, just wanting to get off my feet after a long day of retail, and then proceed to give the kid step-by-step instructions on how to fix it while the lady glares at me like I'm the devil. I had been a CSM for the NHM on the other end of town for a year, over a year and a half prior to this story. Could I have helped her? Probably. But I didn't feel like popping the front of their machine open and footsing around with the insides. Also, didn't work there, wasn't getting paid. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comment.